This is sad to see. My question is he still going to make music after this? What's up, Flick fans? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be standing for the next several videos. I'm having some issues with my nerves and my back and my body. They told me to stand a lot, so I'll be sleeping standing up. But today we're talking The Fall of the House of Usher. This comes to us from Mike Flanagan, one of my favorite horror directors in the business. Did this show pay off? This is a wicked horror series based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe, where ruthless siblings Roderick and Madeline Usher have built Fortunato Pharmaceuticals into an empire of wealth, privilege, and power. But past secrets come to light when the heirs to the Usher dynasty start dying at the hands of a mysterious woman from their youth. I mentioned Edgar Allan Poe. His work is prominently featured all throughout this series, and it's pretty cool if you're familiar with his work, which I kind of am. Liar! But it'll be cooler if you really are. And also, this is rated TV mature for a lot of bad stuff: sex, nudity, blood, gore, everything you can think of. So, kids, don't watch. The cast is crazy and familiar. You're going to recognize most of these names from Mike Flanagan projects, such as Carla Gugino, Bruce Greenwood, Henry Thomas, Rahul Kohli, Kate Siegel, Samantha Sloyan. And it's great to see these actors, along with Mary McDonnell, along with a phenomenal supporting cast, and you really believe that each of these kids represent a very distinct issue or addiction, or they're all a part of this family that has been caught up in so much drama over the years. And basically the foundation that they are built on is not a good one. And a lot of people know that. A lot of people are after the family at this point in time, but throughout this series, we will get flashbacks and we will get moments of these characters earlier on, specifically Mary McDonnell, Bruce Greenwood, Roderick, and Madeline Usher, the two that started it all. Well, really, there were more, but there's a whole story involved there. And as you build up in the past and you look in the past, in the future, and all the timelines are kind of wacky, you're thinking, oh, Austin, this sounds confusing. It's not. But it is, but it's not. You what? It's funny because the first episode, we kind of start towards the end, but there's very clearly something that they're wanting to show us in each episode, and they're building up to the ultimate end game that is supposed to kind of catch you off guard. So this show, along with being horrifying, along with being, filled with incredible imagery, which Mike Flanagan often does, it is a mystery of sorts, because you're trying to figure out what this mysterious figure is doing and how each of these major incidents that we get in every single episode all factor in with each other. Like, what does this have to do with this, have to do with this? Yes, it's all happening at the same time, but how does it come together? And I love the fact that each episode almost has to do with the individual family members, or we are going into one story and out of the other, and we're learning about each of these siblings. It almost reminded me of, not in the way it was presented, but just the story as a whole. It's kind of like a Succession kind of thing, except there's no actual succession plan in place for the kids. It's just looking at how fame and fortune has affected each of their individual lives in a bad way. Now, there are some characters that are obviously a little better than others from a moral standpoint, but as you look into what this company represents and what their father ultimately represents, or at least what we see on the surface, right? Bruce Greenwood giving a fantastic, captivating, monumental, career-defining performance. He and Carl Lumbly's character kind of lead us down this path, take us on this journey, telling us what actually happened, the fall of the House of Usher. What does that mean? And as we get further into the story, that represents a lot of things, and the stories and tales of Edgar Allan Poe, the way that they factor into even the dialogue. There are a handful of monologues that Bruce Greenwood has, or another character has, and it's just so like, wow, I honestly can't believe this all worked as well as it did together, but it did. Now, as great as Lumbly is, and Sloyan, and Henry Thomas, McDonnell, Carla Gugino, this is an Emmy-winning performance. This is an Emmy-worthy performance. She's a different character in every episode. Look out! She's playing so many different styles and accents and versions of the same character. And I'm not going to tell you what her role is exactly, but there's this mysterious feel to her presence, and you're so curious by it in the first 2 episodes, and then you start to learn why she's actually there. And then the puzzle pieces come together, and the show immediately becomes more captivating than it already was. Now, the one thing that I think is going to take away from a lot of people's experience is the fact that you get some things spelled out to you in the first episode, and then you see how it played out. So it's like, you know where we're going to wind up, but it's the execution of how we get there. That's what is compelling for me. So not everyone's going to like that we're shown a lot in the first episode. I was hesitant at first, but as we got to the end of each episode and we kind of cut to that title card, I'm like, yeah, the execution was great. The violence was intense. The gore was distinctly Mike Flanagan. The jump scares, which you expect in a Mike Flanagan movie or series, you know, it's not on the level of Haunting of Hill House. It didn't do that to me, but there are 1 or 2 that definitely got me, and I feel like a lot of people are going to watch this, get their feel for jump scares, but it's more like the haunting imagery. I mean, there are moments where Greenwood's character is just sitting and looking at things, or one thing, or a couple of things, and I'm looking at him too, and I'm like, I couldn't do what he's doing.
Stop it.
So yeah, Flanagan's touch is absolutely there. He doesn't direct all of the episodes. I thought all of the directors did a nice job. You can sometimes tell when it's not Flanagan or when it is, but everything remains consistent. The atmosphere, the tone, the horrifying aspect of this show, but it's less of a horror than Haunting of Hill House. It's more just kind of its own thing. And, you know, you feel this way about Midnight Mass and Hill House and into his movies, Gerald's Game and Dr. Sleep. It all has this very distinct and distinguished and original feeling to them that carries over into this project. Now, something like The Midnight Club, it wasn't my favorite Netflix series, but even in that one, you get an idea, oh, that's Mike Flanagan, even though the story's not as strong. This story worked so well for me, and somebody I haven't even mentioned, he brings in Mark Hamill to play a very different role than what we're used to Hamill playing, and I will say this, I thought Hamill was awesome. Maybe it's just because I love Mark Hamill, but what his character is, the fact that we learn more, very mysterious in the beginning, we start to learn more about him and his presence, his relationship with the family, and then how we get to the final episode, man, it was awesome. And I also have to give a shout out to the performances of the people that play the past versions of the older Ushers, and even the past version of Carl Lumbly's character. I thought they did a great job. There's not a bad performance in this show. It's really hard to say that about any series. My complaints story-wise come down to the fact that you get the characters in their here and now in the episodes, and each of them, they have their own addiction, they have their own issues, something that they're dealing with, they all come into play towards the end, but you don't get an idea as to how all of them got there, as to why they're struggling with what they're struggling with, or why they're even acting the way that they are acting. Now, we get it, they're part of this rich family, you know, they find their dad, and they're all, the relationship's strained with one another. I get that, but there was never any flashback or moment or even line of dialogue that led me to believe this character is acting this way for this reason, other than, well, yeah, they're in this rich family, so maybe more substance there. I'm not saying it's a huge issue. The show's already like the perfect length, but I wish we could have gotten a little bit more with each individual child character. They're not a child, but the kid of Bruce Greenwood. And then the ending, the final episode, I think everything comes together beautifully, to be honest with you, but there is a moment at the very end that's a little cheesy, and you could see it and watch the final 5 minutes and say, yeah, I guess it doesn't have that amazing, intense atmosphere that the rest of the show had, but you have to end it somehow. I think they ended it in the right spot, and we got some great moments from the characters. So before I give you my score, what did you think? Actually, you know what? What is your favorite Mike Flanagan movie or TV show? And if you want to drop a like down below, that would be awesome. The Fall of the House of Usher has everything you want in a terrifying family drama. Brilliant performances, a haunting atmosphere, and some really impressive scares. This is must-see television. It's also something that I would love to talk about when it comes to the ending, how it all wrapped up, and how all of these factors come into play. So if you guys would like to see that, let me know in the comments down below, and we'll wait till it's out and you guys get a chance to see it. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. And just to be transparent, it's hard for me to make videos right now, so I don't know how many you're going to get over the next couple of weeks, but I did it this time.